AROHE. I retired July 1st, but before I retired, I worked for the University of California for approximately 25 years. 22 of those years were for UC Davis and 3 years were for UCLA. My last 10 years of my career, I was the director of the retirement centers at UC Davis and at UCLA. I've been involved with AROHE for about 10 years. I've served as a president and in various other capacities on the board and with different committees. So I've been involved with retiree organizations for approximately 11 years and have a lot of experience from all aspects of retirement organizations. And now I will let Bill introduce himself.
Good morning to everyone. I'm retired from Arizona State University, where I was a faculty member and served in a number of administrative positions for 35 years. I retired in 2011. I became involved with the Emeritus College and was selected to be the dean, where I served in that role for 4 years. Arizona State University is not unique, but one of the rare places where there's a retirement organization as well as an Emeritus College, both operating on the campus. So there's a very significant group of retirees that are available to assist with university matters and community matters. Let's see, what else do you need from me, Sue?
That's good.
Okay,
That's great.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Yep.
So just a little bit more about today's meeting format. I do recommend that if you have your video open so that you can see the speaker, that you choose speaker view. And to do that, you scroll up to the very right top hand corner of your computer, and you will see various icons that I have in front of you right here. And the speaker view is the one that's highlighted in red. That will allow you to see the person that's speaking rather than see all of the videos of everybody that's on the webinar. It just makes it a little bit easier to know who's talking. If everyone could please mute yourselves except for our speakers when they're speaking, it helps with our sound quality. 8 AROHE members have volunteered to share their strategies, so we'll just ask you to unmute yourselves one at a time. We will be using the chat for comments, questions, and links. So go ahead and type in anytime you want, comments and questions, links if you have information that you'd like to share with everybody. Bill will be moderating those comments, and I will pause occasionally, but I'll say to Bill also, you can interrupt me whenever you want, Bill, because I can't see those chat messages. So if there's something that needs to be relayed to me or a question that you think should be answered before we move on to the next slide, just go ahead and interrupt me. That's fine.
I'm going to interrupt right now.
Okay, good.
To say that if you do the speaker view, it comes on with just your image, and I lose sight of the slide. So up at the top, if you select the options, there's another option for viewing that says side by side, and it will move your photo off to the side and keep the speaker view in.
So should we not do speaker view then, Bill? Was that bad advice?
It can work, but you have to go in and check the side by side mode.
Okay, so we're all learning more about Zoom every meeting. So if you don't see the side-by-side mode, then go ahead and choose your gallery view so that you can see the videos, whichever works better for you. We'll say that. So, all right, now with that out of the way, let's get started then with our content. So this webinar that we're presenting today is a very different webinar than we had planned to present for this month. Like all of you, AROHE is finding that what we need to do today is a really radical departure from what we thought we would be doing just a few months ago. We're trying to quickly adapt, as I'm sure all of you are as well. So what is it going to take to triumph over these new boundaries and limitations? Well, none of us really knows because things are changing so fast. But I firmly believe that the most successful organizations are going to be those that are nimble, flexible, and responsive to change. For all of us as retirement organization leaders, I think our biggest challenge is that in-person events really are the hallmark for our organizations. They're the things that most of us have focused on in the past. And reality is that for older adults in particular, large in-person events are not likely to happen for some time to come. We've had to make instant changes in the short term. In the first few weeks, many of us have canceled our in-person events, but we can't continue with just canceling events because all indications at this point are that we're in this for the long haul. As we move forward, I think we're going to need to find creative and effective ways to be together while we're apart. And after all, it's really not the in-person event that's the most important thing. It's the result of the event, which is the opportunity to connect. So we're all going to have to find other paths to get to that same result. Technology is going to be very important as we move forward, as I'm sure many of our organizations are finding already, but I want to recognize and acknowledge one thing that's very important for our organizations, and that is the great digital divide, as I will call it. The fact that not all of our retirees are connected electronically and digitally, and that we can't forget that very important constituency that we have. So today we're going to be talking a lot about communicating via electronics, about using digital media, different applications, etc. But at the same time, we're going to have to use some low-tech options as well. And so you can see by this chart here, this was a survey that was done by the Pew Research Center in 2017. So the percentages have likely gone up in the last 3 years. And this is not new information, I don't think, to any of us, but it's good as a reminder just to show that particularly among our older retirees, the percentages that are using cell phones, smartphones, internet, and social media is a much lower percentage than among younger retirees just in general. So as we go forward, we're going to have to be looking at low-tech and high-tech options to reach our audiences. So speaking of reaching out, our messaging matters. Organizations are going to need to find a new way to convey a sense of community, to provide resources, and to support those in need. While we don't want to make light of the situation, we want to share realistic information, our messaging can also convey hope and optimism, and I think that's going to be very important for us as retirement organization directors. So I think this is kind of a fun example, and I'm going to be showing several examples today that I found from different organizations of a personalized message. This was a board of directors from a different organization that I'm involved with, and they sent a message out to their members just to let them know that they're thinking about us. And your message may not be this exact words, it may not be this exact format, but a personal message from your board or executive committee can show compassion and care. And I think this is a creative example of a simple but effective message. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm being inundated right now with generic messages from pretty much every organization that I have ever been involved with. Giving me information about the pandemic and about COVID and the coronavirus. So I think we can, of course, that information is important, but we can be more effective by personalizing our messages and making them specific to our audiences. So I just want to recommend that you do that you find ways to show compassion and care in a personal way. So then, talking about the virtual platforms that we use. Now, this is not a tutorial today. We could spend several hours on every one of these platforms showing you how to use them, and it's not going to be our, but they're on a daily basis. I am seeing different platforms that are coming online, different apps for my phone. All of these platforms are creating new and different ways for people to connect because they are all pivoting to meet the need as well. I will say that probably Zoom is the platform that most people are using right now, partially because many universities use Zoom and they have contracts for membership. If your retirees do not have access, if your university has a contract and your retirees do not have access, This may be an opportunity for your organization to advocate for retirees to get access to that platform or another platform if your university uses something else. I think it's very interesting that Zoom's daily active users have jumped from 10 million per day to more than 200 million per day in just the last 3 months. Goes to show how that organization is pivoting to meet the needs. So I also think that our instant need to start to use some of these virtual platforms can be an opportunity. Can be an opportunity for our organizations to involve new retirees, and particularly younger retirees. And I don't want to make generalizations, but I will, because in general, our younger retirees tend to be more tech savvy, have a higher percentage of retirees who are more tech savvy, and they might really enjoy getting involved with incorporating new technologies or in offering tutorials. It could be a great way to build your membership among your organizations and bring new people in. I'm going to pause there, Bill, and see if there's been any comments or questions so far.
I haven't seen anything yet. I think
Okay.
everybody's registered.
Okay. Again, if you have comments or questions as I go, just please go ahead and put those in the chat, and I will pause, or Bill can interrupt me and relay those messages to me. So as we talk about connecting with retirees and the need to connect more virtually, it's important that we look at building our email list so that we can reach out to our retirees. I'm involved with another organization. I'm just going to use this as an example. We do trips and travel for retirees, and we have about 400 members in our database. It's not a really huge organization. But we only had about 100 email addresses for those 400 people in our database, because most people in the past stopped in to see us at the senior center. Well, now that our senior center's closed, we needed to build that email list. And so we just started using every method we could think of. And in the last 3 weeks, we have tripled the number of email addresses we had on our list. So I'm just going to review some of the things that I can recommend that you do. Many of these are very simple. You've probably already done them. Some of them you might think are beyond your capabilities. So what I will say throughout this webinar is take those ideas that are appropriate for you and leave the rest. So the things that we have done in other organizations that I've been involved with. I should also have mentioned that I'll be sending out the PDF of these slides to everybody who's participated. So you don't need to write down every single thing on the slides. I should have said that earlier, sorry. I see some people taking notes. So I will send a PDF of the slides. And you also will get a link to the recording. So email building methods that we have used in organizations that I've been in. This is very low tech, and this takes some time, but we've just called our members. And if we don't have phone numbers for people, it's often you can find phone numbers by looking them up on different search engines. I use ZabaSearch. There's other organizations that you can use as well. But with ZabaSearch, you just type in the person's name and the city that they're in, and it's a lot of times I can find people's phone numbers through that. Sometimes you can find email addresses by just doing a Google search of the person's name and then the words email address. Sometimes that works. I also recommend having calls to action and taking more active roles in organization. Have a call to action on your website or your social media pages. Have a button that people can join your email list. You'd be surprised at how many people. I am involved with another travel organization through the University of California, and we added a button to join our email list on our homepage of our website. And I get probably 100 new subscriptions every month. So it's an easy way to build your email list and your distribution. You can also check your members' social media pages. Sometimes they will list their email addresses on their pages. One of our speakers today will be talking about sending postcards. You can send a postcard to those folks that you don't have email addresses for and offer them some incentive. You'll see on several of these, I suggest offering an incentive. And what do I mean by that? We usually will do a drawing for a Visa gift card, for example. join our email list and get involved. Join our email list and you will be entered into a drawing to win a $100 Visa gift card held quarterly, something along those lines. We always collect email addresses at events. Of course, we aren't doing events right now, so that one's not going to be applicable at this moment. Ask for emails in your newsletter. So many of our organizations are still doing printed newsletters. Every issue should have a call for people to send in their email addresses. Sponsor a member email challenge. You can challenge your members to reach out to their friends that they know are retirees and ask them to share their email address with you. And you can offer incentives both to the person that shares their email address and to the person that emails their friends. And you can conduct surveys. This is a great way that, one, you can find out what your members need. And as one of the survey questions, you can ask them to add their email address. Now, these are surveys, of course, that would be sent out by paper because the ones you have emails for, you'll probably send the surveys out electronically. So those are just a few ideas.
Sue, a quick question, if I may.
Sure.
Are there fees for any of these things, in particular Zaba search or Google?
Zaba search is free for a basic lookup, which includes phone numbers. So for all of the things we're talking about, there's almost always a free version. Sometimes it will meet your needs, sometimes it won't. For Zoom, for example, there's a free version that allows you to have up to 40-minute meetings for your groups. And then if you want longer than 40 minutes, you have a paid version. So Zaba search is free for basic lookups. Okay. So when we talk about conducting surveys, one of the things that I would like to recommend to all of our retiree organizations is that you conduct a COVID survey. And I'm curious if you could type into the chat, if anyone has already conducted a needs survey of your retirees, if you could just let Bill know in the chat. I'm just curious to know if anybody's done that.
I won't particularly respond to those, but they'll be all recorded and that chat will be available to everyone.
Right. We will make anything someone wants to share in the chat, we'll make available afterwards. So to help with that, we just very quickly put together a template for those who might want to survey their retirees. And it's available on our website at the link on this slide. It's a short survey, 9 questions, and it just asks basically what people's challenges are right now, if any, what format they prefer to receive information, what smart devices or social media they might use, and are they interested in virtual activities, and if so, check off the ones in these categories. Would they like to receive weekly wellness telephone calls? Would they like someone to follow up with them on resources? And would they like to know about volunteer opportunities that can be done from home? So this template is just some questions you might want to consider. I posted it as a Word document so that you can adapt the template to your needs, add questions, delete questions, change questions. But one of the things I think it's important for us to remember is that not all of our retirees are going to be in the same situation. Some of them are going to be comfortably writing out this stay-at-home orders with everything they need. Others might be struggling with their basic needs. And so I think by doing a survey, you'll find out where your retirees are and you'll know more about what your organization might do to help with those needs. Okay. Questions or comments about that, Bill?
I think everyone is happy. We did hear that one organization is members to see how to do it.
Great. Okay. I encourage everybody to do that if you haven't already. The template that I put up on our website, as I said, was a Word document that can be printed on one page. So if you have people that you want to mail that to, it's easy to mail it. It also can be converted into SurveyMonkey or another survey instrument to conduct it online for those that you do have email addresses for. All right, so let's turn now then to our AROHE member strategies. And before we hear from our participants who have agreed to share their strategies and ideas, I just want to say that we're all at the beginning of this journey. We're learning along with all of you. So today's conversation really is just a starting point. As we learn and find effective strategies through trial and error, I hope that we'll all continue to share with one another so that we can all succeed. Again, as our speakers are sharing with us, please, if you have questions for them, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm going to pause. Each speaker has 1 or 2 slides, so they're going to be making fairly brief presentations. So as they speak, you can put your questions in the chat and Bill will share those with each speaker. So first up, we have Jerry Frederick from University of California at Irvine. Jerry?
Hi, everyone. So I am the director of the UCI Emeriti and Retiree Center. And although I came to UCI 20 years ago, I created this center and the services in the fall of 2005. So just yesterday, I realized this means our center here at UC Irvine is going to be 15 years old this fall. So we're having a 15th birthday, and luckily, I wish I was 15 as well, but well, maybe not 15. Maybe not 15, that's a little too young. So fast forward to now where we find ourselves. One of the first things we decided to do was help sort the onslaught of information that our Emeriti and retirees were receiving. So we created a resource webpage that would categorize reliable COVID-19 information and also highlight those things of most interest to our retirees. So the online resources ranging from how to use Zoom, and we did acquire the ability for our retirees and Emeriti to use Zoom through the campus backbone during this time. We have Zoom tutorial on that little bucket for them, to UC specific financial updates, UC pension system updates, health plan updates, to the free exercise and meditation classes that our own Anteater Recreation Center on campus offers. We did acquire access for all of our retirees and Emeriti to anything that our employee assistance program offered our employees. So all of the counseling that can happen for family crisis, all of that is available to our retirees and Emeriti, so we put that on this resource page. And I think the next slide has it, and we can go back and forth. So we called it Connected While Safer at Home, and it's an anteater because for those of you who don't know, our mascot is an anteater at UC Irvine. And that page does have everything separated into buckets according to what the resource falls into. Again, it was just our people were being inundated with bad information, misinformation, stuff that didn't apply to them. And rather than tuning out, which is what we want to do, they were being overwhelmed. I was being overwhelmed. So this is a place where we categorized everything into categories that make sense to what people may want to participate in. The next thing we did was we sent a dedicated email out regarding that resource page, and we also featured it in our monthly electronic newsletter that goes to everyone for whom we have emails. But as you might imagine, that would only reach those for whom we had emails. We're very lucky that we have about 60% of our emails for our maritime retirees, but what about the other 40%? So I know that in this age, mailing is considered old hat, but I decided that since we were not using funds on in-person programming, we could use those funds to create a specific postcard. And that postcard, a little larger in size so that it actually catches your attention, would have clear markings on it that it is from us, and it would be able to be mailed to everybody and touching everybody. Also, if we did not have the funds, our Retirees Association and our Emeriti Association offered to co-fund that with us. So it would be a split funding mail project. Regarding programming, I then reached out to our financial education representatives and our healthcare representatives to see who was able to do online workshops or webinars on key subjects, not on general information, but key subjects that apply to our retirees. We're now going to have 3 workshops in the next 30 days on specific topics, anything from Medicare, Social Security, what's happening to the UC Pension Fund, anything that would be of interest. And realizing that these times are so full of information overload, we are creating a every other week email about a very specific short information point, something that would be useful to our retirees. a great effort on campus, whether it would be student-led volunteer program, a research effort, or simply to debunk some misinformation that our retirees in Emeriti may have then said. So that's in a nutshell. I tried to keep it under 3 minutes, Sue.
Awesome.
What we're doing specifically to outreach. But again, my strategy is to make it very specific. I don't think anybody needs more general information. I think we need it to be specific to where we each are.
Right. That's great, Jerry.
Jerry, I have one question that came in asking who compiled all the information.
So the Center for Emeriti and Retirees at UCI is myself and my assistant Emil. And UCI actually was sponsoring an information page as well. So we cobbled those items together that were reliable and from our system and from our county, and then found that information from there. We put it together.
Yeah. So I will mention that several of the University of California campuses are lucky to have paid staff that staff retiree centers, and it makes a difference, obviously, if we have paid staff to be able to put together these resources. But for those who don't, I would say, I think I'm okay with saying this, that folks can pull resources from your page, Jerry, and put their own pages together using the links if they are links that apply across the country. You can also go to your own universities. Many universities have come up with their own COVID resource pages. You might just be able to link to that page and add a few additional resources. So you can put together a page fairly quickly, I think, using the links and resources that are already out there.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, if we could not find it as a reliable source, we would not put it there. But again, ours, a few of them are related to just Orange County only, but some of them are very much, if the last bucket on the page is Medicare assistant, that applies to everywhere. So National Council on Aging, that provides services to every area. So feel free, pillage, take from my page.
Right. Great. Thank you, Jerry. I love the way that you sent a postcard to include those that don't have email addresses, and a postcard is a cost-effective way to reach out to those folks. I love the idea that you are redirecting money that you would have been spent on programming and pivoting to meet the current needs. Coordinating with other departments on your campus is a great way to leverage your resources. And then I like the way that you have increased your outreach, not decreased it. And I think during this time, again, personal direct messages, even on an increased basis, can be helpful in keeping in touch with your retirees. Any other questions, Bill, for Jerry?
That was all that came in so far.
Okay, great. All right. So next we have Arlene Kratza. Kratza? Sorry, Arlene, I don't know how to pronounce that.
That's okay, correct.
State University, San Marcos.
Well, I am the Retirees Association Coordinator for Cal State San Marcos, and also I do alumni relations operations, so I am a paid staff member. Our organization is fairly new. We were established in 2014. So what we've done is I have started making personal calls to our members, which has been greatly appreciated. I've done approximately 11 calls, and they are very appreciative of receiving a personal touch, because I've been hearing over again, we're tired of emails, we're tired of Zooms and text messages, so they're very appreciative, and I'm learning a lot. I did not know one of our retiree members has two adult children. One is an ER doctor on the front lines in Minnesota, and another one is manager of a retirement facility. So it's been great to get to learn things about our members that I never would have learned. So I'm going to be continuing those phone calls. We do have approximately 125 paid members in our association. 55% of those are lifetime members. The rest are annual memberships. So what we're going to do is extend an invitation that if anyone is having any financial difficulties during this time, we are going to extend their membership for another year courtesy of our Retirees Association. We are also in our newsletter that we're sending out is we're giving an opportunity to check their experiences. What are you doing as you're sheltering in place? And we've already gotten one member is stuck in Ecuador. Her and her husband could not get back because of COVID. And it was great to hear of her experience. And they're hoping they left in February. They were supposed to come back in April. They might not be back till June. So, and then something we're going to try is we just sent out in our newsletter. We want to try a virtual happy hour get together, but we're going to limit it to very small groups, maybe six people. And then I and one of our board members will be the host to keep the conversation going. So people aren't getting together and like, who's going to start this conversation? So that's what we're trying to do right now with our retirees organization.
Terrific. Any questions or comments, Bill? Bill, you're muted. Oh, there you go. You're muted again. Oh, I don't know why Bill's muted, but there we go.
There we go. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, there were no questions there.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Arlene. I love the idea of the personal phone calls. I think, again, it's that personal touch that makes a huge difference to people. I think you make a really valid point that people are so inundated with emails right now that, you know, just one more email and they're gonna go crazy. I love the idea that you are recognizing that some of our retirees have financial difficulties and giving them an option. Sharing experiences is great. And we're gonna be talking a little more in this webinar about social events, which can be a little challenging to pull off virtually, but can be done. And keeping them in a small group is key. So I think that's going to be a great, we'll look forward to hearing how those go. All right. Now we have Roger Elms from Kwantlan Polytechnic University in British Columbia. Roger.
Hi.
Unmute yourself, Roger. There you go.
There we go. Okay. So Kwantlan Polytechnic University Retirees Association is relatively new. I started about 3 years ago with the support of the university to form a retirees association. I discovered through various means that we had about 500 retirees. Of those, I was able to locate 200 emails. So out of those, we now have just held our second AGM, and we have approximately 75 members out of that total group of 200 emails. So we're doing okay, and we're certainly working on getting more. We do send communication to all of those people on that email list, even if they're not dues paying members. So we call them our friends. And they were also able to observe at our AGM. And because of COVID-19, around the beginning of March, we started to think, well, we really shouldn't have, in the middle of April, a in-person meeting. And so we shifted to a process that I'd used before with another national association. And that was to hold an extended AGM over a week-long period and to do it by email. So essentially you set up the meeting so that certain things are done within a 2-day period, and then other things within a 2-day period, etc. And people are able to vote on any motions via Doodle, which the website is there for. So the way that our AGM was set up is at the first link on that slide. And it also has a couple of PowerPoints because we also had presentations. One who dealt with our pension funds. We have 2 groups in our Retirees Association, staff or support staff, and faculty and admin. So those 2 groups are in different pensions, but both pensions are fully funded. So there's no question about losing benefits and so on at this point. We did have a little dip in one program after 2008 meltdown, but so we're obviously observing, like everybody else, the stock markets and seeing how they're going to come out of this. But our pensions are in good shape. And then the second presentation was by the president of the university, who did a sort of state of the university in this COVID situation. And the university, like many, has gone completely online to finish off this semester, and their summer semester will also be completely online. So that update was very interesting because in the midst of all of this, of course, they're trying to carry on all their normal functions. So that was very good to get that out. We also had another PowerPoint, which was kind of a local issue, and that was funding for our university. And we decided to become an advocacy group, formally decided to do that with a motion at our AGM, which was unanimously passed, for us to begin to advocate on behalf of the university for more equitable funding. And that was quite detailed, showing what other regions are getting in terms of funding per full-time equivalent student versus what we were getting. So the leader of that initiative just sent out an email to all of our group saying, here, the motion was passed. Here's the PowerPoint if you want to review it again. Here's the steps that we're looking at taking, and we'll start to move forward. Always bearing in mind the maxim that you only go public when you're lobbying, when you failed to do it in a closed sort of lobbying setting. So that's basically where we are as an institution. We started 3 years ago. We finally held our first AGM a year ago and our second AGM just in April 16th to 23rd. So that was our way to deal with the immediate issues around not holding large public meetings. And actually, we got a very good turnout. Over 50% of our paid up members participated in the AGM. So we were very pleased with that. It's pretty high percentage
Wow.
for an AGM.
That's actually great. Yeah.
So that's where we are. Thank you also, AROHE, because when I was doing all this, sort of looking at what can we do if we form a retirees association, your resources were outstanding. They were very, very helpful to us because we surveyed across Canada what was happening, and we didn't really have to do that in the case of the US because a lot of examples were on your site. So I very early became a member of AROHE in order to have access to that. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, Bill, any questions for Roger or comments?
No, but I'm going to just say I'm going to send a rather long chat from Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at ASU that offers some suggestions to people that were stimulated these presentations.
Oh, great. Okay, good. Thank you, Roger. I love the idea of breaking your meeting up into smaller sections because a lot of people would rather see just a short presentation or a part of the meeting instead of sitting for a long time. I think the fact that you got 50% participation is pretty incredible for your first virtual meeting. And I love the suggestion of using Doodle for voting. There's other options as well, but the Doodle free voting software is a great way to do voting for different issues that might come up. So thank you. All right, UCLA, Emeriti Retirees Relations Center, Aisha Dixon.
Hi. So we also devoted a section of our website. I guess I'll just go in order from the slide. So one of the things that we heard about is that it was kind of called a social recession. This collapse in social contact disproportionately affects elderly individuals whose only social contact is out of the home, such as daycare venues or community centers or their place of worship. So we wanted to have an opportunity for people who don't have that robust network. So we started this program called Telebruin, which is basically a phone tree. We had about 60 people participate, and they would just call each other and check in as a friendly hello way to connect our retired Bruins. And they just call each other, and some people have found out that they actually knew someone or knew someone of someone. So it was a really good way to connect with people from different departments and types of backgrounds throughout the career at UCLA. We dedicated a section of our website that has, similar to UC Irvine, as other people have done, a list of online resources for virtual experiences, digital performances that everyone can enjoy from home. It was a place that we decided to have where people can view archives of musicals, plays, concerts, also food resources. So we wanted to make sure that we were updating it regularly to include questions about housing support or other community-based services that can help address isolation, and especially those who were experiencing food insecurity. So we listed Meals on Wheels. A lot of restaurants and stores in LA have become these sort of general stores or bodegas, and they're selling groceries and produce boxes. So we wanted to list all the stores from A to Z, from all the neighborhoods where people can go and just find where they want to get flour or they want to get apples or toilet paper. So we wanted to have a large list of all the resources that people could get information to. And also, a lot of our seniors do takeout and delivery. They're living alone, so they don't do large meals. So they wanted to have more information about the safety of delivery and takeout meals. So we listed some information there as well. And we, just like UC Irvine, we wanted to make sure we were vetting our resources and making sure that they were connecting our seniors to different opportunities and resources where people could learn more about different food and meal options available to them. A lot of people have reached out to us wanting to volunteer. So we created this other section where people can write letters to healthcare workers, they can write letters against isolation, and we just really wanted to make sure that we were including some volunteer opportunities for people who wanted to give back, who wanted to donate somewhere to just help out. So that's another section of our website. And then also, one thing that we definitely noticed when we were thinking of how to adapt to our seniors was this disparity that Sue mentioned in access to or literacy of digital resources. So we wanted to have these interventions like the phone tree to connect people. And then another thing we did was we just did a podcast not too long ago. It's called 6 Feet Apart. It's through the Healthy Campus Initiative. And it's a way for retirees and anyone that wants to go to the website to cope, adapt, and grow in this special podcast called Live Well. And they interviewed these content experts across the world about how to adjust to this new life of maintaining all dimensions of our health. So I was featured on the podcast, which hasn't been completely edited yet or available, but when it is, I'll definitely share it with Sue to send out. But it was a way for them to understand how this social distancing is affecting seniors, it's affecting those who have older relatives, and we talked about strategies like intergenerational programming where maybe a younger loved one can call their older relative just to kind of stay connected and be a resource and be able to connect to their loved one, and the disparities in the healthcare system about linking people to community-based resources, how telehealth is not always available widely to people who are in rural areas. So it's a very in-depth podcast that I'll share more information about once it's public. And then lastly, we started a Twitter account. There was so much information coming in daily and through the campus about everything, and also nationwide. So we wanted to be able to sort of reach those who were on Twitter to kind of just be able to get information right away. So I started a Twitter account. I already have 35 followers. So that's
viral.
kind of so it's exciting. And we also embedded that Twitter into our website. So if people don't have Twitter, they can go to our website and still see information about anything dealing with their Medicare, Social Security. A lot of people were really wanting to know about their pension security. So as I get new information from our Office of the President, instead of waiting 2 weeks for our newsletter, I can send it out right away and then still follow up with any updated information in our newsletter. So yeah, I'm tweeting. I figured if our president can tweet, I can tweet. So
That's right. All right. Thank you, Aisha. Any questions or comments, Bill?
Nothing has come through so far.
Okay. I love the phone tree idea. You know, making personal calls coming out is great, but getting the retirees involved on both sides with making the calls and receiving the calls is a wonderful way to engage from all ends. So I appreciate that idea very much. You didn't talk much about partnering with Bruin Tech IT, but partnering with your IT staff to provide support for retirees is a great example of reaching out to another department on campus and using the resources that they can provide. And
yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. We did have some, we had some volunteers wanting to still volunteer. So we did pair up our Bruin Tech folks who are just basically calling retirees and walking them through the steps of Zoom or FaceTime. The only hitch with that is a lot of times they're calling from their personal cell phone. So we're making sure we told retirees, if you see an unknown number or a blocked number, answer it. That could be the volunteer calling from their personal line, and to still respect those boundaries of this is a volunteer calling you, so just so that they're not constantly calling with IT help. So
great. Yeah, thank you. Those are great ideas. So thank you, Aisha. All right. And so next we have Emory University, Gray Kraus.
Okay, thank you. I'm director of the Emory University Emeritus College. And on March 11th, Emory announced that spring break would be extended a week. And after that time, all student residence halls would be closed and instruction would be done remotely. Within a few days of that decision, we realized that it would be a long time before our Emeritus College would be able to have any in-person meetings. All Emory faculty, including Emeriti faculty, already had licensed Zoom accounts, although many had not used Zoom before. And so we made the decision to move all of our programming to Zoom. Furthermore, realizing that social distancing, whether mandated or not, was the only reasonable option for keeping our members safe, we decided to greatly increase our programming in order to counter social isolation. With CDC next door to Emory and Emory itself quickly developing an extensive website devoted to information about COVID-19, we did not need to give that type of information to our members. Rather, we saw a need to help our members get connected and be in connection with others. We already had a robust bi-monthly email newsletter that we send to about 800 members and friends. We've relied on this newsletter and additional emails to keep our members aware of what we are doing. One of our first efforts was to provide instruction and help for our members to install Zoom and learn how to connect. For our next several meetings, I did short introductory tutorials on using Zoom before the meeting started. Since that time, instruction articles have been published in our newsletter about installing and using Zoom, and I've recorded a short tutorial on Zoom so that members who are still new to it can use those resources. Another decision that we made that I already mentioned was to increase our programming. Up to the March 11th, we had generally 2 major meetings a month that we call lunch colloquiums over lunchtime, and we have since then increased those to once a week with some additional seminars on other days. We have had higher attendance at these meetings compared to our on-site meetings, and although there are clearly disadvantages to Zoom, one advantage is that we've had members join in even from out of state. And 2 of the seminars we have scheduled in the future are with out-of-state speakers, one from North Carolina and one from Seattle. So this is an advantage that we're trying to take of Zoom. And all of these programs have been recorded and are available on our website. So if you go to our website, you can see recordings of these programs. We also decided to go ahead and hold our annual awards and new members reception via Zoom. And we'll be conducting our second retirement seminar aimed at not yet retired faculty tomorrow. The response to those seminars has also been actually higher than with our previous in-person retirement seminars. So we feel that our movement to Zoom has been successful. And it was delightful, for example, to see in one of our meetings, our 96-year-old member and his wife attend. So we are not seeing ourselves being limited by at least age.
That's great. Any questions or comments for Gray? Bill?
No.
Okay, great. I love the way Emory has very quickly moved toward adapting your events. I think in the beginning here, in the short term, many of us, we were so caught off guard that we just canceled events and haven't really had a chance to think beyond that. And moving forward in the longer term, we are going to have to adapt our events. So I love the way that you just started right out doing that, adapting your new retirees reception or your new member reception and your awards banquet and holding your retirement seminar. And I think you point out a very good aspect of this, Gray, and that is that being forced to use this technology will actually result in a few benefits, because those of our retirees who are limited by distance, they can't come to campus, or by mobility issues or other reasons, will be able to participate more easily. So I think going forward, someday when we can do in-person events again, we will benefit from offering virtual additions to those in-person benefits to be more inclusive of those folks that can't attend in-person events. So thank you.
Sue, this is Gretchen. Could I say something about the Emory programming?
Sure.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, one thing we've discovered in arranging so many Zoom meetings now, we've been able to make them increasingly interactive, with lots of participation, not just lectures, in other words, not just talking heads for an hour and a half, but lots of real conversation. And we've done that by means of the hand raising aspect of Zoom, that opportunity to click on the little blue hand and raise hands, and somebody keeping track of that. And it's just been great to have so much interaction.
Awesome. Yeah. As we learn more about Zoom, I think we'll find that you can do that and there are opportunities to do it. So thank you, Gretchen. Okay, Winona University, Jessica.
Yes. Oh, Jessica, there we go.
Hi. Yes, my name is Jessica Kapusman, and I'm the director of the Retiree Center at Winona State University. We are part of the state system of universities and colleges in Minnesota. We're in the southeast corner of Minnesota, and we have about 550 or so retirees that we serve. And like Jerry, we are celebrating our 15th year. We started in 2005 as well. I've been with the Retiree Center since about 2014. And one of the signature programs of our Retiree Center is what we call Senior University. And generally that is, well, up until now, that has been academic classes that run about 4 to 6 weeks, and they're taught by retired faculty, current Winona State faculty, or community experts. And we do charge a small fee for those classes, a very small fee that has never increased over the entire time of the program. And they're very popular. They're very popular with our retirees, these classes, and we usually offer about anywhere from 4 to 6 classes every semester. And like I said, they run 4 to 6 weeks. And they're very popular with our retirees. And then also we offer these to retired people in the community, or all adult learners in the Winona community. And they've become very popular with that group as well. And we've actually established quite a big distribution list of people, of our own retirees, but then also people within the community. So it's a great community engagement and outreach effort from Winona State as well. Well, of course, we've had to adapt this program due to COVID. And what we are now going to be offering this May, we are just piloting this program called Senior U Light. And it's going to be, right now we have 3 classes set up for May. They're going to be about an hour long. We're thinking 45-minute lectures with a 15-minute Q&A. And we are opening these up free right now. We are still paying our instructors, but for this trial period, we're offering them free, open to our retirees and to retired people in the community. And our first 3 classes that we'll be offering, the first one will be taught by one of our tech support professionals who's been doing a ton of Zoom tutorials for our university staff and faculty. He will be doing a Zoom tutorial for all of these people just to kind of get them acquainted, because that's how all of the future classes will be taking place, will be through Zoom. So that is our first class. Then we have one of our sociology professors who has a very strong interest in the census. We'll be teaching a course on the census. And then we also have one of our university employees that will be teaching a class on mindfulness amidst or in a time of chaos. So we're really excited about launching this. We're seeing how it goes. Right now we have 6 classes set up for fall that would be our in-person classes, but the way things are going, we don't know how that is going to go. So this will be a good test for us to see if we can possibly adapt our normal classes that would normally run 4 to 6 weeks, possibly adapt those to a Zoom type of class as well. And I just was putting the finishing touches on the email that I wanted to send to my big distribution list of our retirees and community members last night at about 10:30. So I think I got the email out right around 10:30, and right before we got on this call, I checked, and I think we already have over 50 people signed up for our first class. So
Nice.
I'm very excited about it. I think we're going to get a really good response.
That's great. Any questions? Comments?
Excuse me. Yes, there was one question, and that was, does the university cover the cost of the instructors, or is the Retiree Association covering their cost out of your budget?
Yes, we do cover the cost of the instructors out of our budget. Generally, Senior University itself has been a very self-sustaining program, even though what we charge generally for our classes is a $40 fee. And because we have such good enrollment in our classes, that $40 fee has allowed us to basically be self-sustaining. In fact, we actually make a little money, but we do pay current university professors at their daily rate, and we pay adjuncts at the adjunct rate. We're very lucky at Winona State. I am a 0.8 director, so I'm an 80% employee, and I have a 50% assistant, Nancy Ammon, who I believe is also on this call. So we're lucky to have these paid staff positions, and we do get a small operating budget each year as well. But we do have a few programs at the college or within the center that are self-sustaining, such as our day trip program, our travel program, and then our senior university program. So that's been a blessing. And we have a little extra funds right now that we can use to pay these professors, even though we're not going to be charging a fee for this, at least this first iteration of Senior U Light.
Sue, one other, this isn't a question, but it's an ordering of our presentations. Jeanette may have to leave earlier. Can she go next?
Yes. Okay, yeah, we are running a little long here, so I'm going to move on. But yes, let's let Jeanette go next. Go ahead, Jeanette.
Sorry, Sue.
That's okay.
I thought we were going to be just an hour.
I did too, but you know, this is good, so we'll keep.
It's really great, and I'm so glad that you're recording it. And I'm going to make mine rather brief because thanks to all of you and AROHE, which has been part of my life for 15 years, I really get great ideas. So many of the things that we're doing at USC, I got an idea from UCLA. And, Aisha, we're partnering, you know, so it's really been great. The Emeriti Center was created in 1978, and we have quite extensive retirees and programming, But right now it's just me and some students. And so we immediately went to hosting weekly Zoom sessions for our retirees. And they are intergenerational. So most of our programs are partnered with schools and units at USC. And almost all of the things that we do now are being run by students, which is wonderful. It's a great experience for them. So our students did very similarly to what you've heard before, created mini Zoom learning sessions where we have speakers, but we share with our Gen Z students. So we hear from them and they tell us what they're going through. So that we've been doing a lot of panels and things like that on campus. We also created Trojan Connections, which is like a phone tree similar to UCLA, except what we did is we asked where the people lived and whether they were faculty, staff, students, or alumni. And when I started pairing them, and we've had maybe about 75 people, we had a huge onslaught of international students from our university that wanted a phone call. So it's so interesting. Instead of having these students and retirees calling retirees to help them feel less isolated, our retirees were calling international students that were stuck on campus to help, help them with their English, and it was a win-win situation. So we've heard some good stories about that. We also have a COVID website page as well. One of the things that, so you can see here that we've got the phone calls, we've got the COVID updates, we've got Zoom learning sessions. We have our students that will call the retirees on the phone and help them learn how to use Zoom so that they can do it with their family and friends as well. We are going to be doing more Zoom speakers series, and we have a book club that we're doing now online as well. And the other thing that I just wanted to mention is on our website, and we're certainly welcome to share our resources as well. You can see on the slide here, there's resources. If you scroll down on the resource page, you're going to find different financial wellness resources. But one of the things that we still use quite a bit is the family resources page, where the Emeriti Center has created 2 documents that are really helpful. One is called My Confidential Documents, where you can put all of your information together for your loved ones and save it to your computer and print it out if you'd like to. The other one is, unfortunately, we've used this a lot more lately, and it's Upon the Death of a Loved One. It's a little booklet that we send out to our widows and widowers when somebody passes away, but it's online. So it's a link that you can send to anyone who is very sad because somebody has passed away, but it gives them a little checklist of what they can do when somebody passes away. So that's in a nutshell. We've been doing a lot of things that the other schools are doing. But
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments, Bill?
Yes, there was one question about, again, kind of a budgeting question. Are the students paid or are they interns? And how do you recruit students, Jeanette?
Okay, so my staff was completely let go. So I'm the only paid staff, but I do have work study students, which are relatively inexpensive. And I also have unpaid interns. And so we're giving them lots of really great experience. And so we get an awful lot of help from these students that are unpaid, that are volunteers, but also the work study students. It's not very expensive to have work study students. So that's really been great. And one thing I did forget to mention is the partnerships with some of our schools. So we're partnering with the School of Pharmacy, and they've already put up a little mini video on Medicare D. And we have partnerships with physical therapy, occupational therapy, dentistry, and all of that. So we're going to be posting a lot more of these partnerships where we have online learning kinds of opportunities. So again, we don't have a lot of money. So the partnerships with our schools, and we also have a Gen Tech, which is gerontology students that are volunteering to help seniors with technology. And the School of Medicine and Social Work are also providing calling from social work and healthcare students to our retirees. So there's just all this wealth of volunteer kinds of outreach that we benefit from.
Okay. Thank you, Jeanette. Appreciate it. Ideas?
I have, if I can, I have one other set of questions have been coming in, having to do with the online virtual presentations. Do we have any experience with a number of no-shows? And it just occurred to me that, hey, Sue, we had how many registrations?
We had 56. 56 or 57. Somebody
57,
registered this morning.
and 50 people were on at one time. Some people are drifting off now.
Wow, that's really good, actually.
Yes, and here's another. With online meetings, what's the best advice in terms of length of meeting times, approaches to make the online experience have variety to keep the viewers engaged?
I think keeping to an hour is best. We're running a little over that today, obviously.
Well, and Carrie says Carrie's going to touch on that in Berkeley's presentation.
All right, so let's go back and hear from Berkeley. Carrie and or Chris, I'm not sure who's speaking, or both of you.
I'll make mine short and sweet. This is Carrie Sweeney. We've kind of pivoted a little bit as we do these days to kind of frame our presentation very quickly. We at the Retirement Center have a large population of 17,000 retirees and 2 full-time staff and the equivalent of full-time, 1 full-time students. And so we may be more resourced than others, but what we did sort of have learned from this is we immediately needed to turn to our mission. And that is to connect retirees to resources, to offer lifelong learning, and engage our retirees creatively and intellectually to solve problems. And boy, did we. We really had to shift and cancel all of our fall programs. We operate over 50 programs a year, and we had to cancel a major conference. And so it was a lot of grieving. So Chris and I, our associate director, really took some time to grieve the loss, I think, of our programming and a conference that we had been planning for a full year. And then we went straight to our partners. Even though we are well-resourced, we can't do anything without our partners. So we connected with our Retiree Center directors. We connected with our association chairs, our committees, and started really thinking about how we're going to shift. But we did just like what some of the other centers did. We created a web page with different resources and connected our newsletter to the web page so that people could find the highlights there. We have a very wonderful following with the newsletter, so we connected first there. And then we went to all of our partners for ideas. We met with our associations and our leadership to start doing Zoom tutorials. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I was trying to create a Zoom tutorial document, and I said, God, there's got to be a simple one out there, especially though looking for one that wasn't a video from somebody that talked really fast and made lots of assumptions about what you knew and didn't know about technology. And that was really hard to find. But we partnered with our Osher Lifelong Learning Institute to grab their how-to manual, which is the best I've ever seen yet, because they moved all their programming over to Zoom. I'm happy to share that with folks through, if you want to email me, or it's on our website under our Keeping Connected.
I can send that out, Carrie.
Great. AROHE's been incredibly, I'm very thankful for our membership with AROHE and pulling everybody together today. These partnerships are very much key. In terms of thoughtful approach to virtual programming, We have a very well attended in-person lecture series with 100 to 150 people coming for every session. And so as you can imagine, and for many of you, I'm sure you'd agree, that this is another thing we're mourning the loss of. So we want it to be very thoughtful to the approach. We didn't want to do straight lecturing. Ours is set up as one lecture and then an hour discussion. And so we didn't want to lose the flavor of that. So in a couple of weeks, our committee has decided to do a mini focus group via Zoom with one of the members volunteered, had a slide set for a 15-minute presentation. They're going to do a 15-minute presentation and then Q&A, and then we're breaking into Zoom breakout groups. And we'll get feedback from the audience to see if what they would like for the fall. And that will help us plan our fall programming, because we have a dozen of these in a fall semester. So we want to make sure we get it right. And then our associations have been incredibly generous. They got together and they did some fundraising for the Emergency Student Fund. And so I really wanted to call that out, that they donated $1,500 to one of the local student funds. So students have been a key partner as well. They're very anxious to want to reach out to retirees. And so we've been, rather than reinventing the wheel, we've been partnering with some of their programs that they already have to help support and connect them with retirees.
Great. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Questions or comments, Bill?
No particular questions regarding that, but
Okay.
there was a question lingering from the previous one. You mentioned sending out surveys, and the question was, AROHE sent out, or was planning to send out, a survey about concerns and needs. Did that ever go out, and do we have any results?
It did go out and we have been getting results. We have not reviewed the results yet.
Thank you.
That will go to the folks who wrote that survey, the AROHE board members, and they'll be reviewing that and sharing the results. Okay. Well, thank you all of our presenters. I was a little bit overconfident about how much we would be able to cover today. And I had several more slides that would go into more ideas about adapting our virtual events. But I think given where we are in the time, I know that people can't stay on a long time. I'm going to stop here and end today's webinar, and then we'll schedule another webinar to talk more about how we adapt our virtual events and the ideas that people are using for that, more in the lines of social events and fun events, because today a lot of the ideas that were shared were more of the educational programs and resource sharing, which is great, but as time goes on, I think we'll want to look at adapting some of our other events as well. So we'll schedule another webinar to go into that. We also, I think we'll schedule another one to go into volunteering opportunities. Bill?
The slides that you are not going to show will be available in the PowerPoint or the PDF you send out. Is that correct?
I think I'm going to cut it short and we'll make that into a new presentation.
Okay.
So I just want to end then by saying that, you know, you hear sometimes that all of our retirees and all of us are in the same boat right now, but really we're not in the same boat. Some of our retirees will be riding out this pandemic in the comfort of their home, and they'll have plenty of food, and they'll have virtual support, and they're connected electronically. Others will be struggling to get food and adequate Medicare and transportation and feeling very disconnected because they don't have that electronic connection. But while we're not in the same boat, we are all in the same storm. And while our retiree organizations can't control the rain or stop the wind or make the waves smaller, we can be the lighthouses. We can be standing steady and shining a beacon of light for our retired faculty and staff to help them through this storm. So we've talked about a lot of ideas today, and a lot of the folks who shared today do have paid staff. And I recognize that many of our retiree organizations don't have that luxury. So just remember that we can't all do everything. Start where you are. Choose the strategies that provide the greatest return for your retirees, and let's continue to work together. Thank you all very much for joining us today. And as I said, we will schedule at least one or maybe two more webinars to go into additional strategies that we can use during this pandemic experience and the safer at home orders that we're under. I will be sending out a link to a